Whoops, that was a false start. Sorry, guys. It's Thursday morning and we're ready for yoga, so hopefully you are too. Roll out your mat and bring your open heart and we'll get started. So if you want to come to a comfortable seated position, it's a great way to start, always, because it's a great way to get closer to the ground, grounding down, feeling the earth beneath you. So, gotta take a breath. Have a sit. Then take your hands and move the flesh of your seat back. Rest your hands on your lap. Face down is typically what we choose for calming, and face up is typically what we choose for receiving energy. So, or receiving anything, really, this openness, right? So we can signal to our body and to the world around us that we're open, right? And you can see that in people's posture sometimes. If any of you are stuck in your homes with your teenagers, or you have teenagers in your life, you can see that in posture, right? And I've said this in lots of classes, but so we think about our posture. So and that's not blaming it on all teenagers, but sometimes this is our posture, right? And like, what are you receiving? Who's coming at you? Who's coming towards you when you're like, maybe your mom, because she wants to hug you and go, what's wrong? Because when you're all closed down, it's hard to receive. And then there's the opposite, right? And we've talked about this before. And I love all my cheerleader friends, but you can get the whole, cheerleader butt thing going on. You get your butt out and your chest forward. You're coming at the world, right? And that's great too. But sometimes that can be off-putting, right? So the whole reason that we even ever talk about posture in the world and in yoga is to keep the energy in your body flowing out of that grounding all the way through the crown, so we connect heaven and earth through ourselves, right? And then when we're in this neutral position, we also connect ourselves to others, right? Out into the world. So in a way that is welcoming, right? And so a lot of the time I teach back bends because or at least I try to sneak at least one into every class, because in our world we do a lot of this, typing and driving and closing down. So today, who knows what's coming for us today? I've got a lot of things planned, but there'll be more to drop in. We'll open our hearts, we'll ground, and we'll show up, okay? So as we have found our comfortable seat, find that gesture in your own hands to signal the world and signal your own body what kind of energy either you have or you want to move towards, right? So open receiving or face down for calming. So now we'll move into our breath. So if you'd like, close your eyes. It can be really helpful to block out some things around you by closing your eyes. And begin to watch the flow of breath in and out. So you can give the breath a color or iridescence, or simply feel the breath moving, whatever makes sense to you. But begin to breathe in and out through the nose. And when you're ready, check in with the body and notice, where are your shoulders? I'm noticing that for me, mine are a little bit far forward. I'm rounding, my back is leaning forward a little bit. So just notice where your body is in space. I can feel into my sits bones. I can feel into the sides of my feet. Feel into yours. Feel into your foundation. And then grow up out of that. So I'm going to draw my shoulders back a little bit. I'm going to draw my chin in slightly so that I'm one line of energy out of my tailbone through the crown. So there's some seated posture for you. And when you do that, when I personally did that, when I went from being leaned forward slightly to upright, I felt my core muscles engage. And when we engage them in just all of our movements, and it's not like I'm sucking it in or tightening up, but these muscles have to work in order to keep me upright. And when we take care of this area, it also helps to take care of the low back. So if you have any low back issues, it's nice to make sure that you pay attention to what's going on in the core. So as you're ready, and in your nice, easeful posture, be with your breath for a few more rounds in silence. more deep breath. Enjoy it. And then on your next exhalation, we'll let our chin come toward our chest. Ease your eyes open. Inhale your arms and gaze skyward. Exhale your hands to your heart. Thumbs to tap the sternum. We check in with our intention, staying long up through the crown of the head, and we'll gaze again toward our fingertips and either set our intention or remember it. And then when you're ready, we'll release that and reach our hands down. Come up once more. Sink the hands into the heart. And then from here, let's come to hands and knees. So I'm sideways. You may want to face front so you can see. I'm sideways so you can see the posture. So on your exhalation, we draw the belly button toward the spine and we round the back. So this is opening up all those little spaces between the vertebrae. Our spines are this amazing bit of workmanship, serious engineering, right? So they move in so many ways. And so we take care of it with movement. Let go of all the weight of your head. And then on your next inhalation, we'll soften the belly toward the earth, lift head and tail. Lengthen through the crown, root down through the hands, and stay here for a moment. So you can think about what your spine looks like and the kind of movement that we're getting here. Exhale, belly button toward spine. And then inhale, belly toward the earth. So rock back and forth a few times between cat and cow. Staying yoked to your inhalation and your exhalation. Breathing smooth, deep breath, just one more. It's kind of fun to do extra of these because we can get lost in them and yoke to breath really deeply. When you're ready, we'll come to neutral spine. Now wag your tail to the right, turn your gaze to the right, and then to the left. And then begin to bend your elbows and just allow some movement, maybe some circles with the hips. Some circles with the shoulders, just movement. Just notice what happens when you move and what feedback your body gives you so that you can respond. So often we don't pay enough attention to our bodies, and that's awesome that you're here, so you're already on the right track. Walk your hands forward about 3 inches. Turn your toes under. My favorite pose, downward facing dog. Let go of all the weight of your head. I promise we're going to get moving here in a second. Let's inhale up high onto the tiptoes. Exhale, sink the heels. Inhale up high onto the tiptoes. Exhale, sink the heels. One more time, high onto the tiptoes. And sink, 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 sink. Releasing all the weight of the head, the weight of the heels. One more breath. Look up between your hands, step up or float up to the top of your mat. And release the weight of your shoulders down, down, down. Now, draw your tail right over the center of your feet. It's easy to lean back in this pose, but just for today, draw your tail over the center of your feet. Release all the weight of your head. Let your head hang. And then inhale, sweep fingertips along the ground, chair. Rising up into chair pose, sit down deeply, and on your exhalation, press the air away, float hands to heart center, thumbs to touch the sternum. Rooted down into your feet now, build this strong tower of your body that has that central core of your spine up at the top. And so it starts with the legs, right? So place your hips right over your knees, right over your ankles. So you might want to rock a little bit back and forth to find that. And then bring your shoulders right over your hips, and then place your head right in center. And while you were doing that, if you felt your core engaged, that's normal because it's helpful. So once we arrive, wind your hands open like a paper doll. This is a whole pose, mountain pose. Lengthen up through the crown of your head, root down into your feet. You can even press down into your feet. Pull the floor apart between your feet to really feel into your foundation. These grounding poses can feel really good during this time when we're all sort of navigating new waters. So really ground down. Close your eyes for a moment. We're going to get really rooted in a moment. So on your next exhalation, chin toward chest, blink the eyes open, inhale the arms and gaze up, and exhale, swan dive. Let's flow. Lift your right leg out behind you, so you're in a T shape. Pause for a moment and lift your torso up. Press your fingertips into the ground so that maybe you're one line of energy from that back heel through the crown of the head or somewhere between. And then on your next exhalation, sink your right foot to the ground. From here in the lunge, we want to keep that knee right over the ankle. Hands root, length from the back heel through the crown, and on your exhalation, right knee comes down, rise up in the low lunge, stretching out the front of that right thigh. With breath, exhale, hands sink back, stepping back to plank. And from your plank pose, shift forward on the toes, lower all the way to the ground. Uncurl the toes, cobra pose, and lower. Inhale, shift back to downward dog. From your downward dog, bend your right knee deeply, sink the left heel. Inhale up high onto the tiptoes. Exhale, sink both heels. Bend your left knee deeply. Inhale up high onto the tiptoes. Exhale, sink both heels. Inhale, send your right leg up into the sky. Reach it up, 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 up toward the ceiling. Shift your torso back toward the standing thigh, release all the way to the head, and then on your inhalation, sweep that right foot up between the hands. Sink the left knee down, rise up in the low lunge, reach. And sweep the hands back. From here, we'll step the left leg up into that T shape and walk your hands forward, lifting the torso. Pause for a moment, just holding that thigh up, and notice the rooting, the grounding of that right foot. It's doing all the work, most of it at least. And then as you're ready, we'll bend the left knee, set the left foot down next to the right. Inhale, rise up in chair. Exhale, press the airway, float hands to heart center. Standing in mountain, check in with your intention. On your next exhalation, sweep the hands, fingertips along the ground, and we'll rise up in chair. And just dive right into the pool, standing forward bend. Lift your left leg once more into that T shape. Lift the torso as well. And then, when you're ready, sink the left foot down. We'll stay on the ball of the back foot, rising up into crescent pose. Lift up through the fingertips. And as you root down into the ball of the left foot, and the whole right foot, reach up through the crown of the head, up through the fingertips, broad across the chest. And exhale, sweep the hands back to the ground. Step your right foot back into plank. Pausing in plank pose, you can lower all the way to the ground for cobra, or shift forward on the toes, lower halfway, and rise up in upward dog. Your choice. Roll through toes, downward dog. Let go of all the weight of the head. One more breath. Left leg reaches up into the sky. Right foot heel sinks down, down, down. Torso shifts back toward the standing thigh, and your hands are pressing down into your mat like you're holding down your mat in a windstorm. On your next exhalation, we'll sweep the left foot up between the hands, and we'll stay on the ball of the right foot, rising up in crescent. Right foot back, left foot forward. Shoulders and hips are square to the front. Reach. You can soften that back knee if you need to take the pressure out of your low back. Keep it straight, sinking. And on your next exhalation, we'll sweep the hands back to the ground. Lift your right leg off the ground into the L shape, actually T shape. We're going to walk our hand. L shape is when we keep the torso next to the thigh. We're going to keep the torso lifted for more of a T shape. Shoulders sink down the back, right leg is lifted, rooting into the left foot. One more deep breath. Bend your right knee, set the right foot down next to the left, rise up in chair, sit down deep. Press the air away, float hands to heart center, thumbs to sternum. Inhale, arms down to go up. Swan dive, standing forward bend. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, plant both hands and step, hop, or float back to plank, your choice. So in your plank pose, we'll shift forward on the toes, lower halfway. Inhale, draw your heart forward, upward dog, and roll through toes, downward dog. On your next exhalation, let's peek up between the hands. And actually, before we come out, let's stay here for one more breath. Now we're going to shift forward to plank, draw your right knee to the ground, left heel follows, right hand more toward the center, and then left hand to the sky. Modified side plank. So the modification is having this right knee down. So reach up through the left hand. You can look up at the left hand or down at the right. Find the long edge of your left foot and root it down into the floor. Stretch in all directions, reach it out, and then on your exhalation, we'll sweep the left hand down, stepping back to plank. Shift forward, lower half. Inhale, upward dog. And exhale, downward dog. You know, a great place to come if downward dog is ever too much or anything is, we can bring our big toes together, knees apart, and come to child's pose. So everybody come to child's pose for one breath. And know this is a place you can always come for a little break. And then when you're ready, we'll shift up into downward dog. Bend your knees and shift forward into plank pose. And from your plank pose, left knee comes to the floor, right heel comes to the floor, left hand center, right hand sky. Modified side plank. Set your gaze. Enjoy a smooth, deep breath. And on your next exhalation, we'll sweep the right hand down and step back to plank. Shifting forward, lower half. Inhale, upward dog. And exhale, downward dog. On your next exhalation, let's peek up between the hands, step, hop, or float up to standing forward bend. And at the top of your mat, you'll release all the weight of your head. Sweep fingertips along the ground chair. And reach up. Sit down deep. We can still see our toes in front of our knees. Biceps are alongside ears. And from inside of your chair pose, press the air away. Float hands to heart center, thumbs tap the sternum. Remember your intention. Inhale, arms down to go up. We'll swan dive, standing forward bend. Inhale, step, hop, or float back to plank pose. And from your plank pose, we're going to roll our heels to the right. So now we're in a heel-toe alignment in the feet. This right knee can come back down if you need it to, but we're coming into side plank. So you choose if you want the modification or not. Left hand reaches up to the sky, and we're rooted in the feet, broad across the collarbones. And the breath is flowing and smooth. And then on your next exhalation, left hand sweeps down, and we'll shift forward on our toes. Lower half. Inhale, upward dog. Exhale, roll through the toes, downward facing dog. On your next exhalation, right leg reaches up into the sky. Sink that left heel. It's easy when you lift the right leg that left heel wants to come along, but it's not needed. When you're ready, we'll shift the right foot up between the hands. And remember, if it lands back, we just need to take hold of it and help it out. We want to keep this ankle under the knee or the knee behind the ankle. Okay? Rising back up into crescent. Reach. Up, up, up. So the back heel is off the ground. Right knee is bending toward an And on your next exhalation, as we reach high, let's bring our hands together and set them right behind the nape of our neck. Press your head into your hands into your head, and lean back into a little back bend. And if that's too much for your balance, that's okay, just leave it out. So play to your edge, easing in. So when we remember our spine, getting another shape. On your next exhale, we'll open the arms, reaching up above us. And then when you're ready, we'll sweep the hands back to the ground. Step back to plank pose. We're going to move into side plank in the opposite direction. So left heels, not all the heels, go to the left. Right hand to the sky. And that left knee can come down if you need it for the modification. Side plank. Breathe. On your next exhale, we'll sweep the right hand back to the ground, shift forward on the toes, lowering halfway. Inhale, upward dog, and exhale, downward dog. Pause for a moment, wag the tail side to side a little. Release the weight of the head. I say that repeatedly in class because I can say it to a person and they think they're letting go of all the weight of their head, but they're not. So just pay attention to that. See if you can let go even more. When you're ready, we're going to send our left leg up into the sky. Sink the right heel down. Let go of the weight of the head still. See, I said it again. And let go. Smooth breath. Left foot steps up between the hands. Rise in crescent pose. Establish a crescent pose. And then, when you're ready, we can bring our hands together, clasp them, bring them right behind the nape of the neck. Press the head into the hands into the head. We're opening the front body. So lean back, maybe a little deeper back bend this time, maybe not. You see what works. And think about lifting your elbows. Press the head into the hands into the head. So we're keeping the back of the neck long. We're not compressing it. These hands are keeping the length there, so it's an arc. And then unleash or unclasp the hands and reach them up high. And on your exhale, we'll sweep the hands back to the ground. Back into a lunge, and we'll step back to plank. Lower halfway. Inhale, upward dog. Exhale, downward dog. On your next exhalation, we'll look up between the hands, step, hop, or float up to standing forward bend. Right at the top of your mat, release all the weight of the head. Take your first two fingers and wrap them around your big toes. Press the big toes down into the fingers and pull up on the toes with the fingers, releasing all the weight of the head. Feel free to soften the knees. Actually, never lock them, but bend them a little bit more if you need to. And let your elbows come out to the sides, pull up on the toes with the fingers, and press down on the fingers with the toes. Bend your knees even more so that your torso is coming to your thighs maybe, or toward, you see what works. And then stay here for a couple more breaths, letting go of all the weight of the head to apply some traction for the spine, making space between the vertebrae by turning everything upside down. One more breath. Next exhalation, release the toes, bend your knees even more, and come up into chair pose. Reach up. And inside of your chair pose, right hand to the outside of the left knee, left hand to low back. Come into a twist. You can sink down toward the right elbow, or you can stay just like so with the arm open, or the right elbow can press into the outside of the knee. Draw your right knee back in line with the left, and then press the left hand down into the right. Turn to look up. Breathe down into the belly. well. One more. Turn your gaze to the floor. Release your hands and straighten the legs. Let go of the weight of the head and the shoulders. Inhale, chair. Left hand to the outside of the right knee, right hand to low back. Roll the right shoulder open and then sink toward that left elbow. Maybe, maybe not. You decide. There's any place along the way to stop. Once you have arrived at your edge, which is different than everybody else's, right? So your edge is that place between easy and ouch. Yoga is not a no pain, no gain undertaking. Twist. So look at the shape we're offering our spine now. In your mind's eye, and feel into it. Breathe into that space all around your spine. Nurturing. Nourishing. And then on your next exhalation, look at the ground. Set your fingers down and then straighten the legs. Release all the weight of the head. Inhale, sweep fingertips along the ground, rising up all the way to mountain pose. Sweep the hands around to the heart, thumbs to the sternum, remembering intention. Rooted in the feet. And then shift your weight into your left foot. Feeling a tree pose coming on. Lift your right foot up, open like a book, and then find your tree. So the toe can be on the ground, the toe can be on the inside of the ankle, the inside of the shin, or bypass the knee and come up into the thigh. You decide. Lengthen through the crown of the head. Root the right foot into the left leg or the floor, wherever you happen to have it. And then remember that shape we played with at the beginning, where we really thought about the root of our foot rising up through the body. So it can be really helpful to make sure you're keeping your head right over center, your shoulders right over hips. There's always a little bit of a sway in a tree pose, right? Just like the real trees outside. They're not totally never moving, right? There's always something going on. So that's your breath. One more. Next exhalation, we'll let that right foot come right back to the earth, root into the right foot. You can rock out a little bit that left leg, maybe just give it a little bit of movement. Sometimes just a shake is good. And then from here, we'll sweep fingertips along the ground, rooting down in chair once more. Before you go into a balance pose like tree pose, it can be nice to get a rooting pose. So we can sit down in chair and then lift our toes up off the ground, spread them wide. And then when you're ready, soften the toes down. Press the air away, float hands to heart center, thumbs to sternum. Shift your weight into your right foot. Lift your left knee, open like a book. Remember, it can be toe can stay on the ground. You can just play with your balance depending on where you are. And the foot can come to the inside of the ankle, inside of the shin, or skip that knee. We don't want to press on the inside of the knee. And engage in your tree pose. Find a focal point on the ground, someplace to set your gaze. Roll the shoulders back slightly. So it's not an opening, right? But it's bringing the shoulders right over center. Lengthen through the crown. Breathe. If it feels like your foot is slipping on your pants, don't blame it on your pants. Just start pressing the foot a little bit more into the thigh bone or the shin bone. One more breath. Then we'll set our left foot down. Give our right leg a little shake. Sweep fingertips along the ground chair. Dive into the pool, standing forward bend. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Release all the weight of the head. And on your next exhalation, plant the hands, step, hop, or float back to plank. From your plank pose, you can keep your feet right where they are. You can drop your right knee down, or you can step your feet right next door to each other. So we're moving into side plank without any modification, so it's just an option. Move your right hand a little more towards center, roll your heels to the right, and your feet stack, and then your left hand reaches up. So that's side plank. So we do some grounding poses before we move into the balancing poses, right? So root into the right hand, root into the side of the right side of the foot, reach up through the left hand, and then on your exhale, we'll sweep the left hand down, rolling back onto the tippy toes. From here, just bend your knees and press back to downward dog. Releasing all the weight of the head, broad across the top of the shoulders. One more breath. Right leg in the sky. Bend the knee and stack the hip. Reach that right foot way over to the left. Sink the left heel. On your inhalation, straighten the right leg and sweep the right foot up between the hands. Inhale into crescent pose. So right foot forward, left foot back, crescent pose. And then crescent, we're on the ball of the back foot and we're reaching up. And expand, up, up, up. Draw your shoulders back, maybe add a little back bend. Really get some length in the front body. And then begin to bend your left elbow, bring it over to the right. Bring your right elbow behind. You can bring your arms to goalpost. So goalpost arms, right? And then we'll sink that left elbow to the outside of the right knee. Right hand on top of the left. And you can gaze at the ground or up, you decide what you can do today. And stay inside of your smooth and flowing breath. One more breath here. And then set your hands down and we'll step back to plank. From your plank pose, lower halfway, upward dog, downward dog. So from inside of your downward dog, be with the breath for one full round. So inhale and notice how it feels. Exhale, let it take with it everything that's no longer necessary. Left leg reaches up into the sky. Bend the knee and stack the hip, reaching that left foot way over to the right. Sink the right heel. Rooted in the hands, broad across the collarbones, broad across the shoulders. And on your inhalation, we'll straighten that left leg, sweep the left foot up between the hands, and we'll come into our crescent pose. So left foot forward, right foot back, bending the front knee toward a 90, reach up. Find maybe your little back bend, maybe not. And then begin to transition out of the back bend. We can bend our elbows to goalpost and turn toward the left. Interesting balance. And then we'll sweep the right elbow to the outside of the left knee. Left hand on top of right. And you can soften that back knee or not, you decide. Breathe, smooth, long breath. Gazing at the floor, at the sky, somewhere between, just find a focal point. Hopefully something that's not moving. Enjoy the breath. One more here. And then turn the gaze toward the left foot, set your hands down, and step back to plank. Like I've said before, you can always do planks with the knees down if you need to. So from your plank pose, we'll lower half, upward dog, and downward dog. Rooted in the hands, sink the heels. On your next exhalation, we'll step our feet right next door to each other. Shift forward into plank. So remember, we're going into that side plank with the heels moving to the left. Feet can be directly together. They can be hips width distance, so they're heel and toe, or you can bring that left knee to the ground. So from here, we shift our left hand a little bit more in towards center. Roll the heels to the left, right hand to the sky. One more breath. And we'll sweep the right hand down. From here, shift forward. Let's lower half. Inhale, upward dog and downward dog. On your next exhalation, let's peek up between your hands, step, hop, or float up to standing forward bend. Release the weight of the torso and hold the elbows. On an inhalation, sweep the fingertips along the ground chair. Press the air away, float hands to heart center. Remember your intention. Breathe it in and breathe it out. Breathe in your intention, picturing it as if it were already completely true. And breathe it out into the world, sharing it with everybody watching all around the world. So great how many folks are enjoying these videos. So once more, offer your intention to everyone who's with us now and in the future, because these videos do go to YouTube for future viewing. So if you ever need to catch one, you can go to my YouTube channel. On your next exhalation, we'll sweep fingertips along the ground chair. Dive into the pool, standing forward bend. And let's actually sweep back up into chair pose. So from here, sit down deep. Turn your goalpost arms to the left. Sink your right elbow to the outside of the left knee. Bring the left hand along. So we're in our chair twist. Open across the heart. Look up. Breathe. You can look down if you need to. Listen to your neck. Draw the right knee back slightly. And now let's look down at the ground. Really look down at the ground. And then come onto the ball of the right foot. On your exhalation, step your right foot back and you're in that twisting crescent where we were just a few moments ago. Lengthen everywhere. So from the back heel through the crown first, and then broad across the collarbones as you turn, turn, turn. You can stay right here or open your arms wide if that feels good to you. Two more breaths. Sweep the left hand down and we'll step back to plank. So from your plank pose, let's roll your heels to the right, lift the left hand to the sky, lengthen up in that modified version with the heel and toe feet, and sweep the left arm up and over for a side bend, opening up in the side ribs. You can look down at your right hand or up at your left arm, your choice. Then roll the left arm back, opening more across the chest. And sweep the left hand back to the floor, coming to the balls of the feet. from here, lower half. Inhale, upward dog, and exhale, downward dog. On your next exhalation, look up between the hands, step, hop, or float up, standing forward bend. Release all the weight of the head, weight of the arms. You can tuck your pinkies into your elbow creases. One more breath. Sweep fingertips along the ground chair. And from your chair pose, we'll reach up, root down. That space between. We'll think about turning our heart to the right. So come into your cactus arms and turn to the right from your center. And then sink that left elbow to the outside of the right knee, right hand to left. In your chair twist. Press the right hand down into the left, turn to look up or look down, your choice. And now we'll turn our gaze to the floor. Root into your right foot, come onto the ball of the left foot. Lighten up the weight in your left foot. And then step it back. Twisting crescent. Again, lengthen first from that back heel through the crown, and then broaden across the heart, across the collarbones. Stay right here, or maybe open the arms. Two more breaths. And we'll sweep the right hand down. Step back to plank. We'll roll the heels to the left, right hand to the sky. Sweep the right arm up and over. Maybe your hips lift a little bit for a big side bend. You can look up through the top arm or down through the bottom hand, your choice. On your exhalation, sweep the right hand down to the ground, come back into plank pose, and from here, bend your knees and shift back to downward dog. So when you land in your downward dog, we're going to be here for about 5 breaths, so feel free to take a child's pose. On your exhalation, right leg floats up into the sky, bend the knee and stack the hip. Sink that left heel down. Root, root, root into the hands and into the left foot. And then as you're ready, we'll lift that right knee even more, opening across the thighs, sinking the left heel, stretching the left calf and hamstring. And then inhale, straighten the right leg. And we'll sweep the right foot up between the hands. Heel and toe the right foot over to the left hand. Lay the shin down, draw your back knee to the ground, and we're moving to pigeon pose. So I'm going to turn. This left foot can come all the way under the right hip if necessary. The left knee in the back, we want to pick up and roll in just slightly. And press down into the hands, lengthen through the crown, roll the shoulders back. So we're at the top of pigeon pose. And then on your exhalation, let's pour forward over the front leg. Releasing your weight downward. You can stay on your forearms, you can stay up high. Just play and find your own edge here. Think about where the knees are and drag them toward each other slightly. We'll square the hips a little. On your next exhalation, we'll press into the hands, rise up. We're going to sit over onto this right hip, bend the left knee. So we're moving into deer pose. So we've got our right knee bent, our left knee bent, sitting up tall. From here, we're going to walk our hands over to the right and walk your hands down to the ground, or your elbows down to the ground, maybe. Feel a great stretch in this left side and low back. Gaze at the ground. Broad across the collarbones, lengthened through the crown. One more breath. And then inhale, walk yourself up, and we'll walk our hands back around that front knee, send that back leg back into the top of pigeon pose, turn the back toes under, and step your right foot back into plank. From your plank pose, lower half, inhale, heart comes forward, upward dog, and roll through toes, downward dog. One more breath. Left leg in the sky. Bend the knee and stack the hip. Sink the right heel low. Root into the hands. Lift that left knee a little bit more. Sink the right heel a little bit more. Stay inside your edge where the breath is flowing smooth and even. On your next exhalation, we'll straighten the left leg, sweep the left foot up between the hands, and then heel and toe the left foot over toward the right hand. Then we lay the shin down and let that foot come around as far as it needs to take care of ourselves, right? Pick up your back knee, your right knee, and roll it in just like a millimeter. Press into your hands, lengthen up through the crown of the head. So roll the shoulders back, lift the heart. Right here, pigeon pose. Rooted in the hands. Here you can play with that, dragging the knees toward each other to lift up and center a little and square the hips. Keeping the nice long front body from the pubis through the crown of the head. Keep it long as you fold forward, walking yourself into the fold, coming to the depth that makes sense to your body today. So stay for a couple more breaths. Press into your hands and rise up. And we'll shift into the left hip. Bring your right knee up to the side of that left foot or thereabouts. Make it comfortable for you. Lengthen up and then walk your hands outside of the right leg and just walk out in an angle from this right leg and fold onto the forearms. Notice how the stretch feels to you. Notice where you're feeling it. Maybe you want to go even lower. Play with what's here. Staying on the forearms or moving to your forehead. Just notice what that feels like to you. On your next exhalation, we'll walk the hands up toward the body and then come to crisscross applesauce, Sukhasana. Reach up through the arms, lengthen, And then exhale, right hand to the outside of the left knee, left hand to the ground. Press into the fingertips, sit up nice and tall, and then look over the left shoulder. On your inhalation, look over the right shoulder. Easy does it. Turn your gaze in the opposite direction. Easy with the neck. And then on your inhalation, sweep that left arm up and over. And a cross body stretch, gazing down toward the right knee. Roll the left arm back so the scapula wraps around the spine a little. Enjoy that stretch in the side waist. And then inhale, come up. One hand to each knee, belly button towards spine for seated cat pose, chin toward chest. Inhale, lift the heart, roll the shoulders back. And come up to neutral. Inhale the arms up. Left hand to right knee, right hand to the floor. Roll the right shoulder open, sitting tall. Gazing over the right shoulder. And now easy does it. Turn to look over the left shoulder. Careful. Listening to the neck. And on your next inhalation, we'll lift the right arm up and over, gazing toward that left knee. Stretching the right side. Inhale, rise up. Come lying down on your back. Draw the knees into the chest. Make any ponytail adjustments necessary. Give them a hug. From here, take a deep breath in. Sigh it out. Inhale, we'll bring our arms out along the ground, palms face down. Lift the feet off of the sits bones, or if they're down that way, and then lift. So it looks like you're sitting in a chair that's not there. And then we'll drop our knees over to the left. Attempting to keep the right shoulder toward the ground. And if your knees don't come together, that's okay. There's no need to force it. Just allow. You can take your left hand onto your right hip crease and then slide the left hand toward the knee. This is not to press down on the leg, but to pull length there. And it's gentle pull. No forcing. Ever. Breathe down into the belly. On your next exhalation, we'll lift the knees up and set the feet on the floor for a moment. Reach your hands towards your heels, roll the shoulders down, and your fingers reach toward the heels. Heels can walk in a little closer. Press the upper arm bones down. Exhale the belly button toward the spine. Lift the tail off the ground, coming into an easy does it bridge pose. Press into the feet. Lift a little higher, exploring your edge. Keeping the thighs parallel. The shoulders can roll under a little more. Keep pressing the palms down into the floor. And then on your exhalation, we'll sink one vertebra at a time. See if you can really touch into or tap into that feeling of contact with each vertebra coming to ground into the earth. Then we'll bring our arms out wide again. Knees lift, feet lift, so we're in that chair. And then we'll exhale the knees over to the right. Broad across the arms. Smooth breath.
Again, if you like, that right hand can come to the left hip crease and just slide toward the knee, not forcing, just encouraging. Isn't it always better to be encouraged rather than forced? One more breath here. And on your next exhalation, we'll lift the knees back up into center. Hug the arms around the shins, draw the nose up toward the knees, and give them a squeeze. You can rock a little side to side on that mid-back area, giving it a little massage. And then when you're ready, we'll release down and reach the hands toward the heels once more. Roll the shoulders down toward the earth. You can even tuck your scapulas under the back a little bit. And then on your next exhale, draw the belly button toward the spine, flattening out the curve in the low back. Inhale, lift the tail up off the ground for bridge pose. Rooted into both feet, clasp the hands beneath, roll the upper arm bones under, and root into the sides of the hands. You can walk the shoulders under even more. Feel into this bridge pose, rooted into the feet. You can press down into the feet even more, and so your chin may come farther towards your chest. Make sure that you keep looking up. Don't turn your head side to side. And lengthen the back of the neck in your bridge pose. On your next exhalation, we'll release the hands, unroll the shoulders, and then once more tap into that one vertebra at a time. See if you can feel it. Being with these tiny sensations in the body as the spine grounds down. Heel and toe your feet apart on your mat. Let your knees drop together. And then on your exhalation, just open your hands. Smooth out the breath. Smooth out the exhalation. And then we'll lift the knees off of each other and drop the knees over to the right. And back to center and over to the left. And back to center. Heel and toe your feet toward the midline again so that your feet are in line with your hips. One more time, we're going to go into bridge pose. So we'll reach our hands toward our feet. Roll the shoulders downward. Walk your heels in as close as feels okay to your knees. And then exhale the belly button toward the spine. Lift the hips. And if you like, you can bring your hands beneath, or you can press your elbows down like robot arms. Get a little more lift in the chest. Your choice. If you want to clasp or robot arms, that looks like this, right? Robot arms, fingers point straight up. And when you're ready, come into your nice high bridge. So press into your feet. Lift, lift, lift. Root in the feet. Listen to your knees. If it's too much for your knees, you can move your feet just a little bit farther apart, like one heel and toe apart. When you're ready, inhale. Maybe, don't do this, but maybe lift your right foot off the ground, reaching the right foot up to the sky. Exhale the right foot back to the ground. Root into the feet. Press down. Feel grounded, rooted into the feet. Now root into the right foot. Lift the left foot up into the sky. Stretch up through the heel and the ball of the foot. Press down in the elbows or the sides of the hands, the arms. One more breath. And then sink that left foot down. From here, let the arms unwind, let the shoulders unwind, and exhale, sink one vertebra at a time. And then let the natural curves of the back come back. Heel and toe your feet apart to the edges of your mat, let the knees drop to the right. Once you get there, think about the left hip and the left knee, from the hip to the knee. See if you can lengthen that knee forward just slightly. It could be like a millimeter. Stretching a little more in the left side body. And then exhale, come back into center. Knees over to the left. And again, encourage this space from the right hip all the way through the right knee to just sink a little bit more farther, a little farther away toward that right knee. On your next exhalation, we'll lift the knees. Let the knees drop together. Enjoy a good long deep breath and sigh it out through the mouth. Stretch your arms above your head, away from the body, reach the fingertips away, and then straighten the legs, maybe reach the toes far away. And you know the drill. If you have any tension in your low back, you can bend the knees, keep the feet on the floor, or we'll just release the arms down by the hips, rolling the palms open, let the feet move 12 to 18 inches apart, and let the feet drop open, wider if you need to, and then you can press into the back of the head, draw the scapula up under the back slightly to give the heart a little lift. So either knees bent to protect your low back here, or flat out for Shavasana. Smooth breath flows in through the nose and out through the nose. Just notice any sensations that are here in the body now. Just notice. Maybe you notice where you carry tension. Maybe you notice something that just feels wonderful. A good stretch that's happened. Some echoes of one of the poses we've already been in. Just notice. And then invite the body to soften. Mindfully softening the forehead and the eyes, the temples and the cheekbones. Just let go in the jaw and the whole mouth. Let go of the eyes, the nose. Soften the ears and the throat. Relax the shoulders, arms, hands, and fingers. Relax the chest and the solar plexus. Letting go of the upper back and the mid back. Feel them grounding down. Allow everything to become heavy as you soften the belly and the hips. And finally let go of the legs, the feet, and the toes. Surrender completely. So begin to Deepen your breath, just for a round or two. Staying in this posture of surrender. Just inviting a deeper breath for a couple more rounds. And then ever so gently, reach your arms back up above your head along the ground for a big stretch. Maybe send the toes out straight away for a stretch in that direction. And then bend your knees, place the feet on the floor. Bring your your right bicep next to your right ear, and then roll to your right side, using that bicep as a pillow. Pause, remembering something that you're grateful for. And then allow yourself to appreciate that one thing deeply. And now that you're immersed in gratitude, press into your top hand and rise to a comfortable seated position with eyes closed. Rest your hands again on your lap, face down or face up. Tune into the breath, knowing that throughout the day, you can stop for just a breath, anytime. And on your next exhalation, draw your chin towards your chest, recognizing the divine dwelling in you. Allow the energy of your mind to drop into your heart space and recognize. Bow to the divine in yourself, the sacred in you. And then realize that all of you is sacred, for the divine to dwell here. All of your whole person. When you're ready, sweep the fingertips along the ground, blinking the eyes open, reach up, up, up. And we'll draw the hands to the heart and recognize the divine dwelling in each other as we bow and say, Namaste. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I can't thank you enough for practicing with me today. And I'm here every Tuesday and Thursday. I know we had a hiccup on the last Tuesday, but there's so many other things going on too. So my podcast is just a baby now. It's Gratitude Sandwich. I'll put the link in the comments for that. And many of you are asking how you can pay me for these classes. And if you feel moved, drop a couple bucks in or whatever you feel, that's great. I'll put the link for that in as well. You can just pay me via PayPal or Venmo or whatever. Or not, just send me some love, love, love over the airwaves. That's beautiful too. And so we're in this space right now where you may be having some suffering of some kind, mentally or financially or whatever it may be, right? And so Richard Rohr says that if we don't transform our suffering, we're bound to transmit it. And so in this time of suffering in the world, pay attention to what's happening, right? Just like we do on the mat. So pay attention to what's happening in your body. Pay attention to what's going on in you. And if you want to talk, call me, text me. We can set up a time, official time, or whatever. I
have a pay-as-you-go feature right now in my life coaching work. So did I say pay-as-you-go? That's not what I meant. I meant to say pay what you can. So it's just whatever you feel, sort of like these yoga classes, or not. So I want to be here for you. You guys have all been here for me so many times. So there's lots of things that I'm offering, and I'll drop in links in the comments for all of them, and I would love to hear from you. So feel free to text me, inbox me, whatever, and let's get together over the phone or over a FaceTime or in a Zoom, whatever you need, and work on healing our suffering as best we can. Because if we can show up whole in the world right now, that's the best gift we can give to everyone around us and everyone that's not even right around us but beyond our own walls. The energy of wholeness moves out beyond. So for today and every day, thank you, thank you, thank you. Namaste. See you next Tuesday and Thursday. Also, Embark, I'm doing a class for Sundays, for restorative on Sundays. If you want information about that, leave me a note. Thanks, bye.